Please enjoy this uninterrupted conversation as part of our academic integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of digitalization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state-of-the-art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to Ed Up on the Ed Up Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the Ed Up Experience, and we are back on another episode of our academic integrity series, sponsored by Integrity for Education. Speaking of, we have the CEO, Thomas Fetch, here again as my co-host. Tommy, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Elvin. Thank you for inviting me over. I'm looking forward to a great conversation with you and Melissa.
Absolutely. Same here. So let's bring her right in. She is Dr. Melissa Beck Wells, and she's Associate Professor and Director of Teaching, Learning, and Faculty Development at Empire State University. Melissa, how you doing today?
Hi, gentlemen. I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. So let's get right into it. Melissa, tell us all about what you do and how do you do it?
Yeah, thanks so much. So I am an associate professor, like you said, in the College of Education at SUNY Empire. And so we are our own university within the SUNY system, which is the State University of New York system. We are mostly online. We're 98% online, and we are the largest military affiliated higher education institution in the Northeast of the United States. So that's pretty cool. We're also an autism supportive university, which is a really wonderful designation, and our CARES department works really hard to make sure that we are being inclusive in our practices. And I mean, being in public education is really inspiring and being a high access institution, because I think there is a certain amount of responsibility in public higher education. And so we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of lots of different diverse learners, and we're doing it in a way that students can learn when they're able to learn. And so we've really been meeting the needs of adult learners, and now we're having a younger population of students coming straight from high school, or even in our high school partnerships, taking these online classes or residency classes so that they're able to have this really in-depth higher education experience where they might not have been able to do that. Our transfer student population is super high. We have maybe 3/4 of our population as transfer students. And so it's really great that they're coming here to finish their degrees, because they trust us. We take a lot of PLA, so prior learning credits, either in prior learning experiences or through other assessments. They're coming in. And so we're getting our students in and out of the door with their learning being really, really just top notch. And it feels really good to work here.
That sounds fantastic. And we'll follow up before I pass it over to Tommy. So I love this prior learning assessment, prior learning credits. That's cool. I'm just curious because I think of all the academic integrity episodes that we've done a lot. I don't remember asking this question. So, and I guess the question is, how do you work with prior learning through an academic integrity lens? Is there a way that you're thinking about academic integrity when you're thinking about prior learning assessment?
Absolutely. So we have a really wonderful system where a student works with their mentor or advisor to talk about the prior learning that they have. And so it's a conversation, not just a one and done. And so then they present what they've learned, and it could be for 2 credits. It could be up to 60 credits, right? And it's so they can really talk about their experience either in intro courses or in advanced courses, or even if we don't have the course and it's a learning outside of the coursework we provide, we try to fit that into their learning experience. And so they talk about what they've learned either in an essay or in a presentation, and then they get to talk to an expert in that particular area, and they have a really nice conversation either on Teams or on the phone, or sometimes if it's requested, even in person, if it's available. And then they talk about that learning to make sure that that learning is at the level and for the amount of credits that the student thinks that it is for. Sometimes it's even more. I've talked to students and they'll say, I think I have 4 credits in special education. And we start talking and I'm like, you know so much about so many different aspects of special education. So let's break this down. Maybe it's 2 credits here, 2 credits here, 2 credits here. And they leave the conversation with 10 credits. So it feels really good. Our students pay one fee and they can request as many credits as they think they have within their repository. So it's really great.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. And it seems really hyper personalized, which I really love. So over to you, Tom.
Yeah. Hey, Melissa, one question before I start asking around academic integrity, but how many students you have enrolled in your organization or in your institution?
So we have upwards of 20,000. So, and we right now, we have international students, students all around New York State, but we have a lot of students dispersed. And so our students go from associate students or even credential students, and we have an EDD program. So our
Mhm.
students like to stick with us from when they get into the door. And now we have a lot of EDD students who were with us from their first experience in higher education, which feels really cool as well. We also have something I think that's particularly special about Empire. A lot of our support personnel or our professionals or even faculty members, adjuncts, part-time, full-time, will take courses at Empire and get additional degrees at Empire because they like the quality of the education here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's impressive. All right. And you said that 89%, no, 98, no, 89% of those are online.
So
98%, that's a lot. So they are mostly online. Okay, so focusing then on academic integrity in online. So this is the world I originated from, like talking about academic integrity. In online, you have like certain, I don't know, maybe threats, wrong word, right word. But do you see anything that you can recognize anything as a threat to your academic integrity, specifically because you're 98% online?
So I think that's an interesting question because, generative AI as it's coming up, it's so accessible. The free versions are accessible. And so you want students to get the learning they're paid for, right? They're paying for, and you want them to leave your course and your program with the needed skills to either move up in their career or become a problem solver or a critical thinker. And so how do you kind of mitigate the ease of using generative AI? Or when I went to college, people would pay other people for their papers, right? So if somebody is going to potentially cheat, um, it could be in lots of different ways. This isn't a new thing. But particularly in online education, something that we're doing to mitigate the temptation of utilizing Gen AI or other tools to kind of have the risk of academic integrity violations is designing all of our courses and thinking about a universal design for learning lens. And what that means is if you are minimizing barriers to students in their learning opportunities, so making sure they're actually able to understand what you're teaching them, which is like,
Mhm.
how are you representing the learning, right? So do you have notes and that's kind of it? No, that's not allowed. We have a multimodal learning path where you can use videos and you use auditory cues and you use notes and you might use different types of readings. And we're really proud that the way we present information is also many, 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 I'm going to say more than 60% of our courses use OER, so open educational resources. So our students don't
Mhm.
get footed the bill of having to put that extra money into textbooks. So we've gone and out the director of graduate supports, Shannon Pritting, had this huge initiative at our university to incorporate more OERs. And so many of us were given time or the funds to kind of do that in our courses. So students are given lots of opportunities to access the content. So that's number one is how do you reduce the barrier to their learning? Because if they feel they're able to learn, they have less of a shot of saying, I don't actually know what I'm doing. Let me use an alternative way
Mhm.
to get this information, right? So you have the the representation. Then you have the expression, right? If a student feels they're not going to be successful in writing an 8-page paper for your course, it's really easy to kind of use one of those systems that'll write it for them, right? So you say, okay, so let's minimize those barriers. You're more comfortable doing a presentation and recording yourself? Do it. Are you more comfortable doing a PowerPoint presentation with just your vocals? Do it.
Hmm.
How about doing some type of community-based experience and recording that? That's great too. You want to write a paper? Write a paper. You want to do a podcast to talk about your learning? Do it. And by having these lots of different types of ways that a student can kind of show what they know, they're less likely to utilize an alternative means, which is, might be questionable in academic integrity. But I think another really big piece of that is letting them know that like you've got their back and you have resources available for them if they do need help. So you don't need to go to Gen AI if you need tutoring. We have so many tutoring options available at Empire. We have personalized one-on-one with a person. We have more computerized ones. We also have our student success office is just outrageous, where they help you with writing, they help you with content, they'll help you getting around the university. We have other things that aren't necessarily academic barriers, but we have a virtual food pantry where if they have these basic needs that we'll send you an Amazon gift card, right? Because a lot of times, barriers aren't necessarily just academic. They might be in juggling their life outside. So all of those barriers, we're really working to give them those supports to do it. I think also the recognition, I think our faculty are really good. Faculty, professional, and staff are really good at recognizing when students are doing really well. So we have a system where you can send messages through student success that's saying like, you're doing a really great job. Kudos, right? That's it. Just a nice little quick thing. We also have Alpha Sigma Lambda Honor Society that I happen to be the chapter counselor. We're really proud. We're inducting almost 300 students this semester because they're reaching these GPA thresholds and we want them to be recognized for their work. We also have a lot of shout outs in our announcements or different ways that even if you're in an asynchronous online course, we're saying we're really proud of what you're doing. And then there's also those catches, I call them. So if you have a student who hasn't accessed the course in 5 days, we set up something called artificial intelligence agents. And our team, Empire Online, is just stellar with giving professional development alongside with the Center of Teaching and Learning, which I'm the director of, to kind of support faculty members of getting these awareness, just getting the awareness of, listen, a student hasn't engaged the course in 5 days. So it sends you an email and sends the student an email that you've already pre-set up before the course begins. It says something to the effect of, are you okay? We know student engagement is really important, right? Like it's important. How are you doing?
Hello,
Yes.
you still
What
there?
are you there? What can we do to help you? We want to make sure you're getting the most out of this course. What can we do for you? And so
Hmm.
that's really great. And then just thinking about the end result. So making sure the student understands what you're teaching them, giving it to them in lots of different ways, letting them kind of access all the different, the multimodal approach that we have, and then letting them show us what they know in the way that best suits them, right? Because this is their education. And we want them to make sure they're meeting the learning outcomes of the course, the learning outcomes of the program, the university learning goals, the SUNY learning goals, what they need for their career. So why don't we let them kind of show us in the way that they think is most appropriate? And I think by
Hmm.
minimizing those barriers, we really have honed into supporting the academic integrity lens, ensuring that they feel good about their educational experience. And so they don't feel like they want to kind of take that step around.
All right, that makes sense. So with the support, you foster the learning experience and like the learning outcome, if I understand correctly, which makes sense, right? So you just try to remove barriers, not really go against or try to hunt and track down cheaters. So if
Absolutely. So
okay, I get that.
yeah, by being proactive, and I have to say that the
Mhm.
Center of Teaching and Learning does, I would say, at least 200 hours a month of professional development, either synchronous or asynchronous. So we have lots of different professional development that faculty and professionals and even adjuncts can do on their own time, as well as synchronous professional development, so that people are in the know. Because nobody is going to intentionally stop a student from learning. If there is
Mhm.
any unintentional barrier, that's what it is. It's an unintentional barrier. So letting people kind of know, listen, these are best practices. This is how to work around it. This is how to think about it in an accessibility lens and an inclusive lens and through the lens of universal design for learning. So when I conduct my trainings with faculty, professional, and staff, I want them to model what I do for their students. And so I think that's a really important thing, is to think about it kind of not just in the theoretical, but how do they apply it? And I want them to be like, well, Melissa did it this way, so I can do it this way too.
Yeah, makes sense. Besides all that, so just focusing a little bit more on this academic and integrity piece, do you encounter cheating at all, like at Empire State? Or is
Absolutely.
that something? So, well, it sounds very, very nice what you all do and all the support and all the thought process behind it, which is, I think, the right direction to go, right? Trust in your students, support them, help them to learn and have the best experience, give them a flexibility in how they show what they learned and different ways of assessing them. Still, you encounter cheating on your
Yes.
campus, I understood. All right.
Humans are fallible, right? Like there's going to be, no matter how wide you cast the net of the supports that you have for your university, there might be students who um, do think like this is actually the route that I'm going to take right this moment. And so we have a couple of, and by a couple, I mean, we have lots of checks and balances to kind of support those students. So one is the faculty member or the instructor would look at it and say, this doesn't feel like your authentic tone. This doesn't seem like what you're usually producing. And so they'll reach out to the student. They might get the student's mentor or student success coordinator on board to have this conversation. We say to the professors, and so it's so, interesting that we're having this conversation, because I was just doing a mini training with the new faculty. I'm in charge of new faculty onboarding, and they did come across what they thought were students utilizing Gen AI in their discussion boards. And so
Mhm.
I let them know, like, reach out to the student, let them know, like, did you do this? This is not a, now you fail the course forever. This is I want to have a conversation so you don't continue to make this mistake and do it in a more egregious manner when it really matters. Because if you are a highly engaged instructor and you look at these little formative assessments, and in the formative assessment, you see cheating or you see an academic integrity violation. If you talk to the student then, there's a lot less chance they're going to do it when it's a major assessment, right? Because now they
Mhm.
know, okay, there's a process, right? I can't just skim through. And then maybe you could say to them, listen, I see you're using this, but we actually have better resources here at Empire that you can use, right? You want to talk to a tutor or you want to talk to somebody about getting your ideas on paper. Students today sometimes need executive functioning supports,
Mhm.
especially in asynchronous online learning. And so we have that. Students sometimes don't even know they had that. What's interesting is I just did a couple of publications about the accommodations that students receive in pre-K through 12th grade. So they receive all of these accommodations if they have a diagnosed disability. They might get extra
Yeah.
time on tests, or they might get a scribe, or they might get notes broken down, or they might get graphic organizers to help them organize their thoughts. And then they
Yeah.
come to
Extra silent room, for example, stuff like
right.
that. Yeah.
All of
Mhm.
those,
Yeah.
all
Mhm.
of those things that help them succeed and do well enough
Mhm.
to then go to higher ed. Then they get to higher ed and they might think to themselves, well, I'm one, either I don't want that label on myself, or two, I don't know how to access those accommodations, or three, I'm going to try it without it. But they
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
need to. Even if a student didn't have those accommodations in pre-K through 12th grade, they can still get those accommodations in higher ed. One, but two, through that universal design for learning approach, they might be able to access it because of all the scaffolding that's in place anyway. So by instructors talking to them, having a human experience and letting them know, We've all done things that maybe we're not the most proud of in our lives, but we're here to support you through your learning experience. Here are some better supports. You have the conversation. Then that really minimizes it. Is that to say that gets rid of it totally? No, of course not. But it does really support the masses in getting their thought process of one, this education is theirs for the taking. Their learning is going to be up to them and what the content they get from it. And based on what your goals are for yourself, that's why you're taking this course, because you found in your program or in what you want to learn that this course will give you A, B, and C. Don't cheat yourself. Get A, B, and C.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. So I think, Elvin, we heard that a little bit, right? So inform correctly, let people know that there is support available. Let them know about like the rules and regulations, maybe why the syllabus, or yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. All right. And if you think about like the cheating that still happens, is there any favorite methodology you would recognize? So is there something that sticks out at the moment? If people still don't know unintentionally or intentionally cheating, is there a favorite methodology you would recognize?
Right. So in our syllabus, we have an AI statement, no matter what. Every
Hmm.
instructor, this was a policy that was passed last year that says the instructor will say, use of AI is perfectly fine as long as you cite it, or AI is not applicable for this course, or
Hmm.
use
Yeah.
AI as much as you want, or we're going to use AI
Mhm.
together, whatever it is. So students know going into the course what the expectation is. We do
Great.
not use AI tracker tools because of the false positives. The last
Yeah.
thing we want to do is tell a student you used AI when they didn't.
Mm.
We don't want them to have anxiety about their learning experience. We don't want to falsely accuse them of academic integrity violations if there wasn't. So it is what we've been doing is we have the instructor look at it. If they deem it AI, they might give it to another colleague, says, can you read this? What do you think? And then they also might talk to the mentor or the student success coordinator that really know the student really well and say, does this seem like it's the student's authentic voice? And if they say like it's not, let's have a conversation with the student and let them know that we're here to support them versus them, not allowing themselves to access the content of the course. Then we have those conversations.
Cool. Makes sense. All right. Yeah. About academic integrity. Obviously, you know what you do. And you just open it up. So, because the other way around is to apply technology, of course, such as plagiarism AI tracker, what you said, or proctoring tools, or establish some kind of academic integrity process, or the academic dishonesty process, to be more precise. So is that something you also have applied to like your courses or to your organization in a way, to still track it and also maybe observe it over time?
Absolutely. So if there seems to be an issue with academic integrity with a student, so you have the conversation, perhaps the student did it again. We have an academic integrity office that you can put those issues kind of in their hands and say, hey, I just want to
Mhm.
let you know this person really needs more help than what I can give them. And so if somebody does have perhaps multiple instances of academic integrity violations, the office will talk to them and say, this is something that you as a student in your student conduct handbook promised that you would have this integrity in your educational journey. And so we want you to know this is what you signed up for, and we want you to be able to get the most out of it. And so we see that there is this issue, or this issue has happened multiple times in multiple courses. What can we do to support you? Because we don't want you to leave this institution, failed all the courses and didn't get the degree that you're paying for, right? Or your workplace is paying for, or you've put all this time and energy into. And so they will work with the student as well. And those are more egregious issues so that they can help the student kind of think about themselves as a learner versus I'm just a cog in this machine and I just want my diploma. I just want to crank out my diploma as quick as possible and get out of here.
Yeah, true. Right. And in the end, you want to apply the knowledge. So you better learn instead of cheat. Yeah, you got it. All right. Cool. Just out of curiosity, but you talked about tutoring before. It has nothing to do with academic integrity specifically, but you also apply AI for tutoring already?
So they can put in the type of tutoring that they need and then they will get circulated towards. So we don't have an AI. We have an AI bot that will help them if they need services. So they'll use AI to say, I'm having food insecurity, and it'll take them there. But when it comes to actual content tutoring, we use either external tutoring or we use our one-to-one tutoring in Empire State University, not necessarily an AI robot back and forth.
Okay. So, and there is, you can also manage it over the time zones, the capacity, or is
It's
it
24/7.
workable? 24/7. All right. Okay. You got it.
24/7. We have students because we have a lot of adult learners and we have people who are partnering with their work or for example, we have the UFT in New York City. They'll pay 6 credits for their paraprofessionals to get their bachelor's degree. Many of our students are working full time, especially let's say the paraprofessional population that
Hmm.
they're working during the school day. And so sometimes they're working at 3 a.m. 4 a.m., putting barriers in place in the time, then they're able to access their supports whenever they need.
Okay. Got it. Nice. Over to you, Elvins.
All right, thanks, Tommy. So Melissa, before I ask you the last question, I do have I'm just curious. You have different ages. So you have older adults, mostly older adults. And then you said you have more younger, I think, coming in as well. So in terms of academic integrity, dishonesty, do you see a difference between the groups? Because is one group doing something more than the other group in terms of using AI, or are they using more, or are there excuses, or like what are the stories? Or talk to us through about what are you seeing? What are you hearing from faculty?
So when we think about our course design and whatnot, we need to be able to plan and design our courses for those who grew up with a cell phone in their hand and those who grew up with no phones. Our last graduation, we had a student cross the stage who was 19, and we had a student cross the stage at 89. When we go to graduation, it's so beautiful. We have people crossing parent and child. It's so beautiful. What Empire does is really beautiful. But what we found is we don't want to explicitly put a stamp of, oh, somebody's age designates this type of academic integrity violation, because we know that their supports at home are very varying. So there might be an older adult whose their child is helping them or their grandchild is helping them. Whereas you might have another student who's maybe in their teens or 20s or 30s doing all of their coursework by their phone, right? So there is a huge gap. So when we're thinking about how we design our courses, we need to think about both. And that's why having so many opportunities to kind of engage there allows the students to get there. When we think about, does an age have any potential in academic integrity? Maybe, but we don't try to pinpoint that down to, oh, you're in this age bracket versus you're in this age bracket, because all of our students receive the same supports that they need, which is all the supports we could provide.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. And big fan of graduation. I always say everybody who works at a college university should attend, mandatory to go to a graduation. And just, it's such a beautiful moment. And you see, this is why I do what I do. And so I'm a big fan of that. Okay, thanks. So going to our last question, Melissa, this has been a great conversation. Tell us, what do you see as the future of higher education? And feel free to bring in the academic integrity lens if you want to.
Yeah, thanks so much for this question. I think higher education, if it does not embrace a universal design for learning framework, is not going to be sustainable. Why do I think that? Because the diversity of learners has grown so much over these generations that we need to make sure that our content, our coursework, our services are able to be accessed. If they are not going to be able to be accessed, our students are not going to come. We're not going to have the butts in the seats, if you will. Now, coming from an online institution, I feel like we've been really innovative and forward thinking about how to ensure that students can access us any time of day, any day of the week, wherever they are in their life, whether they are coming in with 0 credits or they're coming in with 100 credits. And so we have really kind of put forward this sustainability in higher education with asynchronous online learning. And so we do synchronous online learning and we do some in-person stuff as well. But I really do see asynchronous online learning being what the future of higher education will be. And the way to kind of mitigate the ideas of academic integrity in a very AI centric generation is to utilize universal design for learning frameworks, because when you are making sure that students have the access to the information, are being taught in a way that is meaningful to them, they can show you what they know in a way that's meaningful to them, and it applies to what they want, they're less likely to utilize things that would be a violation of their academic integrity. And again, academic integrity is for them, for their learning experience, but also for us as institutions to ensure that when we sign their diplomas, that we're telling people we think that this person gathered the information of what this degree holds. And so whether that is in a certificate, an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's, or in our EDD program, we want to make sure that we are setting students up for success.
Yeah, upholding the value of higher education, right? I love that. Yeah, that's great. And universal design, yeah, that's a whole nother podcast that we should work on. That's great. Great conversation. Thank you so much. So first, let me outro my co-host. He is Thomas Fresh, CEO at Integrity for Education. Tommy, thank you as always for being with us.
Elvin, Melissa, thank you for this nice conversation. It was, again, a learning experience for myself, but there's a specific to Arab experience. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, you got it. And ladies and gentlemen, your guest today, she is Dr. Melissa Beck Wells. She's Associate Professor and Director of Teaching, Learning, and Faculty Development at Empire State University. Melissa, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. It's a wonderful conversation. I'll be back whenever you want.
Awesome. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you just head up. Thanks for listening to this uninterrupted conversation as part of our academic integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of visualization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state-of-the-art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de.